This event happened in 2022 during the COVID pandemic. I was 22 years old, and I always wanted to go to the dark web because I found it fascinating, and it was unknown to me that you can buy and view illegal things on it. I decided to build up courage and go onto the dark web. I prepped myself by downloading every VPN that can protect my location and identity, and I downloaded The Onion, which helps surfing the dark web. When I clicked download on The Onion, every part of my body was nervous and filled with excitement at the same time. I opened up the Onion website and let my curiosity go on. I looked up the basic illegal stuff like guns, drugs, and actual social security numbers for sale. In order to buy anything off of the dark web, you need to buy Bitcoin, which was apparently untrackable currency. After hours of looking at the same thing, I was kind of bored and decided to up the stakes. I went to a red room. This was probably by far the worst decision that I've ever made. Now, in order to get to the red room, you have to pay a fee. So I bought some Bitcoin and I was finally into the red room. Now, some of the rooms are fake, and I say this straight out because some people will scam people by asking for donations to perform certain acts, but never will follow through with the act, and the person who is getting tortured is obviously faking it. I ended up falling upon this video that shows a dark room with a chair in the middle of the camera, and next to the chair was a small table with a gun on it. I thought it was a fake gun at first, but at the end of it all, it wasn't. 2 minutes later, a young man who was blindfolded is thrown into the chair and the chair breaks. I can hear the cry for help and agony from the man's voice, and I felt honestly numb about it. A new chair is brought in and the man is taken from the ground and forcefully sat on the chair by a man wearing a cartoon mask and gloves. The man is sitting in the chair in front of a camera, and the man is forced to make animal sounds while crying and is having a gun to his head. I sat there just still and wide-eyed and started to sweat because I can't believe what I'm seeing. After 4 minutes of making animal sounds, the man is mentally and physically abused for 3 minutes and bloody, and now begging for his life. The abuser then takes the man up out of the chair after abusing him, and then decides to shoot the man in the head until the magazine runs out, and that was the moment that mentally broke me. Watching a man killed in front of my eyes got extremely depressing. Maybe he had a family, a life, a job, and he was probably a good person. The man threw the lifeless body away and was looking at the camera. Then he says what was absolutely heart-dropping. He says my real name and my address. I ran to my computer plug and I unplugged my desktop. My desktop is off. I couldn't believe that he found that out. How did he even know my name and my address? I downloaded the VPNs and used the Onion website. How the did he know my name? I decided to unplug everything from my desktop and yeeted it in the trash can and ran back into the house to my room. I sat on my chair like 3 hours, just nervous as hell, and was shaking. Everything was going through my mind like, what if he shows up at my house? What if I'm next? And what if he kills me? I got on the phone and I decided to apply for a gun permit for self-defense. 4 years later, I haven't seen anyone or anything suspicious. I bought a new laptop, and now every day of every night, there is a gun on my nightstand. If you would have told me 10 years ago when I first became a plastic surgeon that I would be harvesting organs to sell online, I would have laughed at you or got offended. You see, back in those days, I had a code that I followed, a code that all surgeons followed. We do no harm. It was our duty to help people. Now, if you would have told me that I would run my own gig in my garage with cameras set up at every angle with an operation table in the middle, live streaming to interested buyers who would love to watch the process and start bidding as I'm cutting, I would be speechless. Who could ever think of such a thing like that? The dark web has all sorts of interested buyers, and everything you can think of. It's quite a trip. My victims, you see, are not looking to spend a fortune on those BBLs and tummy tucks, so they come to me. I offer very reasonable pricing. I fix a few girls up, and they spread the word. Some leave, some don't. Tonight I harvest my first pair of lungs for a middle-aged man who smoked his remaining years away. Foolish man. The young lady who came tonight was the perfect specimen to work with. 19 and in perfect health. She wanted some breast implants for a Playboy shoot. Did she ever look the part though? Let me tell you. I told her I'd make her a star right as the gas kicked in. You'll be the biggest one the world has ever seen. You'll be my Dahlia. Good evening, everyone. If you happen to like our content, then please like, share, and subscribe. Subscribing is free. If you ever feel the need to change it, you can always do so. Make sure you hit the notification bell so that way you never miss any of our content. Now back to the video. I always heard stories about the dark web, how it was a hidden corner of the internet where anything and everything could be bought and sold. But I don't think that I ever thought that I would explore it myself. It was too scary and dangerous, not to mention illegal. But one day, I remember watching a YouTube video which talked about some of the crazy things that you could see on there, and being a stupid and rebellious teenager at the time, I spontaneously decided to dive in. At first, it was like any other website, with links to various topics and products. But as I clicked through, the content became more and more disturbing. There were sites selling drugs, weapons, and I even saw advertisements for human trafficking. The images and videos were gruesome, making me feel sick to my stomach, but I just couldn't look away. As I continued to scroll, I stumbled upon a site that offers something that caught my attention. A mysterious and exclusive club where people can experience unspeakable things. It was called the Black Room. At first glance, I thought it was just a hoax, but the more I read, the more I realized it was real. The members of the club paid a large sum of money to be part of it, and the experiences they had were beyond anything imaginable. The site had an application process, and after filling out a detailed form, I received an email inviting me to the next event. It was to be held in an undisclosed location, and I was given specific instructions on how to get there. I arrived at a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town, and as I walked in, I was hit with a wave of fear. The atmosphere was dark and foreboding, and the people there were like something out of a horror movie. They wore masks and costumes, and making it impossible to tell who they really were. I was taken to a room, and there I met the host, a man who called himself the Black Baron. He explained the rules and what would happen next. I was given a mask to wear and told that I can leave at any time if I felt uncomfortable, but that didn't exactly put me at ease. As the night progressed, the events that unfolded were beyond anything that I could ever have imagined. People were tortured, humiliated, and degraded. It was like a scene from hell, and I couldn't believe that I was actually a part of it. As I watched in horror, I realized that I made a grave mistake by coming here. I put myself in danger, and there was no telling what could happen next. Suddenly, the lights went out, and in darkness, I heard sounds of footsteps coming towards me. My heart was pounding in my chest. I tried to run, but I couldn't see anything. I felt a hand grab me, pulling me towards the door. The door opened, and I was thrown into a small room. I felt panic rising in my chest as I realized that I was trapped. I felt as the walls were closing in on me, and I could hear the sound of my own breathing. Hours passed, and I was still stuck in a room, my mind racing with fear and uncertainty. I had no idea what was going to happen to me, or if I would ever get out alive. Henry works at his desk going over plans for his latest architectural project in Hoboken one cool summer night. The soft glow of his computer screen illuminated the room as he worked late into the night. As Henry goes into thought, he becomes saddened. It's been 3 years since the car accident that took both of his parents' lives. Now only memories can be cherished traditionally. Now it was just him and his teenage sister Sydney during the holidays. He has become the sole caretaker of her. There was a lot of ups and downs between the two. Seeing that Cindy had a liking to the rebellious emo lifestyle, she always seemed to be a handful, but Henry loved her furiously and did anything within his power to support all of her endeavors. even pursuing his career as an architect. However, he couldn't shake the worry in the back of his mind, knowing that Cindy was spending concerning amounts of time online. Henry did his research and found out that she was surfing the dark web. There was a huge argument between the loving brother and sister. Henry said that he only did it to protect her, but she only fired back, telling him that she didn't need him, that she's not a kid anymore, and that she can get through all of her troubles on her own. She ran into her room, slamming the door, leaving Henry heartbroken, wishing he could save his sister from impending doom. One night, Henry noticed his little sister is unnerved and seemed to be in a state of terror. He tried asking her what was wrong, and before she could even explain the situation to him, the electricity in the house shuts down. His worst fears were brought to reality when he knew Cindy had stumbled upon something sinister. He knew that she found herself entangled in the dangerous web of criminals, and before Henry knew it, his sister's life was on the line only because she was dabbling with the dark web. They'd both seen a total of 4 men wearing all black masks, and various weapons heading towards the back of the house. He then rushed his little sister upstairs and allowed her to hide into the towel closet. Then he ran downstairs to the basement without being discovered by the 4 men out by the back patio door trying to get in. As he ran downstairs to the gun case, he heard glass shatter and the men entering the premises. He unlocks his case and pulls out his AR and quietly climbs the stairs. As he reached the basement door, he hears the screams of his sister, his heart beating in his chest. He knew he had to keep his wits in the situation. Henry was able to stay level-headed, remembering his USR training as a marksman in the reserves. Even though hearing his sister's cries troubled him to his core, he had to stay focused in order to save her. He slowly cracked the door and noticed 2 of the masked men rummaging through the house looking for valuables. That's when Henry knew he had to take his chance. He burst out of the basement, aimed and ready to fire, but the 2 assailants ended up running out of the front door. The 3rd man ended up tackling Henry from behind. A tussle ensued. Henry managed to get the upper hand and knocked the 3rd man out cold. He quickly got up, grabbing his gun, and heading towards the upstairs. At the top of the stairs, the 4th man is holding his sister captive with a knife to her throat. The man then threatened to slit his sister's throat if he didn't give him the code. Despite being confused by his request, he then pleaded to let his sister go. In sheer stroke of luck, Cindy managed to strike the man in the groin while releasing her in the process. He goes to stab Sydney, but Henry ended up taking a shot to the man's abdomen. Sydney then ran downstairs to her brother in a loving embrace. They both ended up running outside of the house, calling the authorities. A week later, investigators told Henry that Cindy was conversating in the chat room on a webpage specifically dedicated to emo individuals called the Black Heart Republic. One of the men that she was talking to happened to have a falling out with Cindy and made a litany of threats towards her and her family, all because the man got rejected. They've captured all perpetrators involved in the crime. They all were prosecuted and justice was rightfully served. A year later, all things appeared to be going back into full circle. Henry's dream finally came true as he became successful just like his father did. And Cindy graduated high school and later received a letter inviting her on a tour to a prestigious college. Henry couldn't have been more proud of her and telling her that Mom and Dad would have been proud as well. A week later, Cindy, with a small suitcase, went off with a friend of hers to visit the school that she was hoping to attend. They both hugged each other, expressing their love, and she told him that she would be back within a couple of days. 4 days go by and Henry felt a pit in his stomach. He tried calling her, but no answers. He called everyone that she knew, even called her friend Wendy's parents, but to no avail. He even went to call the college. He was met with a shocking revelation. They've never sent her an invitation. Her friend Wendy was also missing, which made matters even worse. No one had answers on their whereabouts. Frantic, Henry contacted the authorities and filed a missing person report. But as the days passed, no sign of Sydney. His desperation grew. Just when hope began to fade, a package arrived in the mail with no sender on it. On the front of the package, it only said, "Open if you dare." With trembling hands, Tool opened the package to reveal a gruesome sight that shattered his well-being. He screamed in horror as he looked upon the contents that fell out of the package. A severed hand adorned with the same bracelet Cindy always wore on her red wrist. Henry's heart plummeted as he realized the horrifying truth that his worst fear had come to fruition. Cindy was no longer missing, but simply gone from ever existing. Good evening, everyone. This is Yuri K, and this is the end of the video. Please leave a comment and let us know your opinions on the matter. If you happen to like this content, please check out our other videos. Make sure you like and share amongst your friends and family to help our community grow. You happen to be new to this channel? Please make sure you subscribe. It's free and you can always change it in the future. You have some terrifying story suggestions? If so, make sure that you send it to my email, fearofthedarkstories@gmail.com, and I'll feature it in a future segment. But you guys stay safe out there, and remember to always be afraid of the dark.